I still remember the sound. 3 knocks. Slow. Measured. Like someone wasn't just asking to come in, they were daring me to answer. It was raining, which is rare in Phoenix. The kind of rain that comes with thunder that sounds like old grudges resurfacing. I opened the door, and there she was. Madeline. Mascara bleeding down her cheeks. Hair stuck to her face. The silk blouse she wore the night she told me she wanted an open marriage now clung to her skin like guilt. But it wasn't the rain that made my blood freeze. It was the fact that I didn't see my wife. I saw the woman who set my life on fire. And in my hand was the gasoline. The key fob to the empire she thought I'd never build. "Can I come in?" she asked, voice trembling. I didn't move. Not because I was angry. That ship had sunk long ago. No, I stood there because I realized something terrifying. I felt nothing. Not rage. Not pain. Just the silence that comes after a storm has destroyed everything. Let me take you back. Back to when I was still the fool cooking her dinner. Thinking food could fix distance. Thinking flowers could patch over disdain. That night, I'd made her favorite. Garlic herb salmon, mashed truffle potatoes, chilled rose. Everything perfect. Except the marriage. She walked in, lips pressed into a flat line. "I invited someone else tonight," she said, without even looking at me. I laughed. Thought she was joking. But then he walked in, 20-something smug, wearing cologne like it was confidence. Tyler. She didn't flinch. Just kissed him on the cheek, sat at my table, poured my wine, and said, "We didn't think you'd mind." That moment didn't break me. It built me. It was the blueprint of betrayal. And it was the night I stopped being her husband and started becoming her reckoning. The wine glass in my hand trembled slightly. Not because I was afraid, but because I realized this wasn't just a dinner. It was a funeral. The death of a man who thought love was enough. I stood in the doorway between the kitchen and dining room, watching them laugh at some inside joke. Tyler had the nerve to compliment the lighting. My lighting, which I spent a weekend installing. Madeline just smiled, tucking her hair behind her ear the way she used to when she was nervous. Or lying. The table was set for 3 now. But I didn't sit. I stood. "I made this for you," I said, nodding at the food. Madeline glanced at the plate like it was foreign. "Yeah. I wasn't sure if you'd still want to do the whole dinner thing." The whole dinner thing. As if our traditions meant nothing. As if every anniversary, every little ritual we'd built together had just expired. Like an old carton of milk in the back of the fridge. Tyler spoke next. "Hey man, you're clearly a good cook. Maybe that's your thing. You know. Some people build empires, some people grill." I looked at him. Long. Hard. And for a moment, I imagined smashing the wine bottle against the table and screaming. But I didn't. Because real power doesn't scream. It calculates. I turned back toward the kitchen, picked up my plate, and walked outside. The air was dry, but my throat burned with something wetter than rage. Not tears. Not yet. Just disbelief. I sat alone under the patio lights, the ones I'd strung up for our 10th anniversary. The same lights she once said made our home feel magical. Now they just illuminated the cracks. Inside, I could hear their laughter echoing through the walls. Walls I painted, floors I refinished, a home I built with my hands. For a woman who invited her affair to dinner. And that was the moment. That was when I knew. This wasn't a one-time betrayal. It wasn't even personal. It was strategy. She wasn't just falling out of love. She was setting the stage. Preparing her exit. Establishing emotional distance so she could claim later. We'd been growing apart for a long time. That night, I didn't sleep. I stayed up on the couch, staring at the ceiling fan spinning in slow, tired circles. And somewhere between 3 and 4 a.m., I whispered to myself, "She thinks I'll go quietly." She had no idea. The next morning, the house smelled like burnt rosemary and betrayal. The salmon I'd cooked had sat untouched, except for Tyler, who'd taken a picture of it for the gram, then left it cold. Madeline was already dressed for work when I came into the kitchen. She didn't say good morning. She didn't even look up. Just tapped away on her phone, probably texting him. I hope dinner was enlightening, I said, voice flat. She didn't flinch. You're making this a bigger deal than it is, Ethan. You always do that. Always. Like this was my pattern. Like her inviting her boy toy into our home wasn't the emotional equivalent of dropping a grenade? I didn't realize honesty was dramatic, I replied. She finally looked up, eyes cold. You want honesty? Fine. You bore me. You used to be ambitious. Now you're just comfortable. You're a welder who learned to code and got lucky with one real estate app. I stood there. No defense. No denial. Just silence. And in that silence I saw her. Not the woman I married, but the version of her I had refused to acknowledge. The one who had slowly started measuring my worth by Tyler's standards. That evening, I came home early from the office. The house was quiet. For a second, I thought I might get a reprieve. But then I heard the shower running upstairs. When I entered the bedroom, his watch was on my nightstand. His hoodie was on my chair. And then I saw it, Tyler's phone, half buried under a pillow. Unlocked. I know what you're thinking. I shouldn't have looked. But I did. Because this wasn't about jealousy anymore. It was about information. The messages weren't just flirty texts. They were strategy. He'll never fight you. He's too proud. Just play nice. Once the assets are separated, he's yours to walk away from. She wasn't just cheating. She was dismantling me. Methodically, quietly, with help. I sat on the edge of the bed, phone still in hand, and let it wash over me. Not anger. Not sadness. Clarity. That night, I didn't confront her. I didn't scream or throw things. I made lasagna. She came home late and barely touched it. Said she was tired. Went straight to bed. And while she slept, peacefully, beside the man she thought she still controlled, I was downstairs, researching attorneys. Encryption software. Financial safeguards. She had made one critical mistake. She thought because I wasn't reacting. I wasn't preparing. But I wasn't just preparing. I was evolving. You don't notice the cracks when you're the one filling them. I used to think the silence between us was normal. Just what happens after years of marriage. Two people growing into routine. Quiet coffee. Separate screens. But now I saw it for what it was. Distance. Designed. Engineered. And I had missed every signal. The first red flag. She started sleeping with her phone face down. Then came the late meetings that ran over without explanation. The sudden interest in Pilates. 3 times a week with a trainer who didn't exist on Google. I remembered the perfume, something new. Sweet, sharp, expensive. Not what she ever wore for me. And then there were the birthday gifts. Last year she got me a belt. Not a smartwatch. Not a tool I'd mentioned. Not even something personal. Just a belt. Wrapped in recycled paper, no card. Like I was a colleague, not a husband. I should have known. But love makes you stupid in a very specific way. It makes you explain away everything that should concern you. The day after I found Tyler's texts, I started making a list. Not on paper. Not on my laptop. In my head. Every moment she pulled away. Every kiss that landed cold. Every compliment that felt rehearsed. And then it clicked. This wasn't new. This had been happening for over a year. It was a slow erosion, not a collapse. And that made it more dangerous. Because it wasn't about lust. It was about calculation. Madeline hadn't just fallen for someone else. She had been planning her exit brick by brick, quietly building a case in which I would look like the disconnected one, the passive one, the man who checked out. And honestly, that's what scared me most. How good she was at pretending. I remembered one night last fall. We were sitting on the porch, drinking cider. She leaned her head on my shoulder and said, "I love this part of us. The quiet." At the time I smiled. Now I realize she was already gone. Her body was there. Her voice was there. But her loyalty, her mind, they'd already packed their bags. And so, I did what she never expected. I didn't accuse. I didn't beg. I didn't confront. I watched. I studied. And I planned. Because now I wasn't just her husband. I was a man who had seen the truth. And men like that, we don't fall apart. We build something new, on top of the ruins they thought would bury us. The real betrayal didn't come with a kiss. It came with a lock screen. One afternoon, she was in the shower. Her phone buzzed on the bathroom counter. Twice. I glanced at it out of habit. The name on the notification read, Ty, Rocket Sweat Droplets. I didn't touch it. Didn't need to. Because in that moment, I remembered something I wasn't supposed to. 2 weeks earlier, I'd helped her find that same phone under the couch cushions after she lost it. But when I handed it to her that night, she never opened it. Just tossed it into her purse and used a different phone to check her messages. 2 phones. 2 lives. Later that night, when she fell asleep with her back turned to me, I went looking. I wasn't snooping anymore. I was investigating. And there, in the back of her closet, inside an old scarf box, was the second device. No lock screen. No guilt. Just open access to a digital autopsy of our marriage. The group chats were the worst. Not just texts with Tyler, those were expected now. But there were entire threads with her friends. Screenshots of me cooking, vacuuming, walking the dog, accompanied by emojis and snarky captions like, "Look at Ethan playing house like it's 1950. Give him an apron and a leash." One message from her best friend Sarah read, "Make sure you get that prenup flipped before you pull the plug. You earned your half, girl." Earned. By what? By pretending? By turning me into the punchline while I was still the one paying for the wine she drank with her side piece? And then came the Google searches. How to make divorce look mutual. How long before I can claim spousal support? Best female divorce attorneys in Phoenix. She wasn't leaving. She was pillaging. I sat in my car for hours that night, gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles cracked. And then I made a decision. No tears. No confrontation. Just cold, clear strategy. I took pictures of everything. Backed up every message. Encrypted the data. She thought she was 2 steps ahead. But she'd made the classic mistake. She underestimated the quiet man. The one who fixed broken things for a living. And now, I wasn't fixing anything. I was documenting the wreckage. Because when the walls came down, I wanted the world to know who swung the hammer. There's a moment in every storm when the wind changes direction. For me, it was at 3:14 a.m., staring at the ceiling, phone in hand, a folder of evidence growing bite by bite. It wasn't just anger anymore. It was something sharper, cleaner, purpose. I realized something she never wanted me to understand. She hadn't been in control. She had just been first. First to lie. First to plan. First to play dirty. But now I wasn't reacting. I was designing. By sunrise, I had 3 things she didn't know existed. A backup email with everything saved to cloud. A flash drive hidden in the fuse box. A list of the top 3 high-conflict divorce attorneys in the state. I booked an appointment with the best one that morning. Not through my name. Through a shell account I'd used back when I freelanced on security audits for real estate firms. Madeline was still asleep when I left. She never even stirred. Later that afternoon, I came home early again. She was in the kitchen, casually on speakerphone, talking to someone named Rachel about a trip to Cabo with Tyler. I walked past her, not a word. No emotion. Just logged onto my laptop, downloaded the last 6 months of joint account transactions, and sent them to my new legal team. Every charge. Every suspicious dinner. Every flight. She had no idea I could be this quiet. And she definitely had no idea I could be this methodical. Over the next 2 weeks, I played the part of the distracted husband. Busy at work. Going to bed early. Let's talk later. She loved it. Thought I was shrinking. But I wasn't shrinking. I was compressing. Building pressure. Building data. Building leverage. Because here's what she didn't know. When I was a welder, I learned to fuse metal under insane heat. Calm hands in chaos. And now, I was welding the foundation of her downfall. One message at a time. One document at a time. One calculated silence at a time. By the time she noticed something was off, it would be too late. I wasn't just preparing for divorce. I was preparing a case. And in that case, she wasn't the victim. She was the architect. And I was the witness. And the demolition crew. I met Savannah Cross on a Wednesday morning. Downtown Phoenix. 9th floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows. No framed family photos. No warmth. Just results. She didn't shake my hand. Didn't ask how I was feeling. She just said, "I reviewed your files last night. She's not just cheating. She's asset hunting. Let's hunt back." And that was the moment I knew I had chosen correctly. Savannah wasn't just a divorce lawyer. She was a strategist in stilettos. She slid a folder across the table, already color-coded. This is our blueprint. First, we freeze joint assets. Then, we file a temporary restraining order on large withdrawals. After that, we serve her before she serves you. She's already looking into attorneys, I said. Savannah smiled like a wolf. Then we move faster. For the first time in weeks, I exhaled. Not because I was safe, but because I was no longer alone. Savannah asked sharp questions. Has she started moving furniture out? Have you noticed any missing documents? Is she the primary on any shared credit lines? I answered everything, and every answer made her pen move faster. She was turning my pain into a legal missile. We scheduled the service of papers for 2 Fridays from now. Why Friday? Because she can't call her lawyer until Monday, Savannah said, matter of fact. That's 48 hours of panic. We want her unbalanced. This wasn't cruelty. It was defense. Precise. Necessary. Savannah also requested something else. Full custody of Bentley. Our dog. He's leverage, she said. And he's yours. That night, I came home and looked at Madeline like I was seeing her through glass. She laughed at something on her phone, swiped left, and said, "You're so quiet lately. You okay?" I smiled, nodded, even kissed her on the cheek. Because the war she started, I was about to finish it. And the best part, she wouldn't even hear the first shot. The courtroom smelled like stale coffee and polished ego. Madeline walked in like she was the one wronged. Black dress, flawless makeup, not a single crack in her porcelain mask. She even smiled at me. That's the thing about manipulators. They don't just lie. They perform. She sat beside her lawyer, a polished man named Curtis Blake, not related, just coincidental. Expensive suit, smug smirk, and zero idea what was coming. Savannah, on the other hand, looked like she'd already won. Her heels didn't click. They announced. We started with financial disclosures. Madeline claimed lack of awareness over several purchases. Savannah pulled out bank statements, line by line. Trips to Sedona. Hotel suites booked under alias emails. A shared Uber account tied to Tyler's name. Curtis objected. The judge overruled. Strike one. Then came the group chats. Screenshots projected onto a screen. Lines of ridicule. Plans of manipulation. Even mockery of my therapy sessions, which she had insisted I attend. Madeline shrank slightly. The room did too. Curtis tried to pivot. Irreconcilable differences, he said. Emotional disconnection. Savannah didn't even blink. She turned to Tyler, who sat in the back, wearing a suit 2 sizes too big, eyes darting like a child caught stealing. "Mr. Tyler, would you like to clarify how long you've been involved in this?" Emotional disconnection. Tyler shifted, swallowed hard, then said the line that ended it all. "I didn't know she was still married when it started." Gasps. Curtis face-bombed. Madeline's mask cracked for the first time. The judge leaned forward. "Excuse me. I thought they were separated. She told me he was just living there until he figured his life out. I didn't know he was the owner of the house." Boom. Savannah closed her folder gently, like sealing a tomb. "Your Honor, we rest our case." Madeline tried to speak, but her voice cracked. The ruling came quick. Full asset retention to Ethan. House, vehicle, tech company shares, and custody of Bentley, the golden retriever that had slept by my side through every cold night. When court adjourned, Madeline didn't look at me, but I looked at her. Not with hatred, not even triumph, just closure. Because this wasn't revenge. It was balance. And finally I had it. It rained again in Phoenix. Twice in 1 year. Some would call it rare. I called it poetic. I was sitting on the porch, sipping coffee, Bentley curled up by my feet, when the knock came. Not hurried. Not frantic. Just hesitant. I opened the door. And there she was. Madeline. Hair drenched, eyeliner bleeding, blouse clinging to her like the last vestige of pride. Déjà vu. Except this time, I wasn't holding gasoline. I was holding peace. "Can I come in?" she asked, voice low. Bentley growled softly behind me. He never used to growl at her. I didn't answer. Just stood there, letting the silence stretch like a tightrope. She spoke again. I needed to see you. Things aren't great. Tyler left. My job, well, they let me go. Clients talk, you know. Word gets around. Her eyes flicked to mine, searching for softness. For some leftover love. But there was nothing to find. "I'm not here to start anything," she added quickly. Look, I miss this. The house. You. Us. The audacity. To miss what she said on fire. I should have slammed the door. Should have laughed. Should have given her one final cut she'd never forget. But instead I just asked, "Why now?" She looked down. I thought I'd feel different once I had everything I wanted. And I asked. "I don't even know what I wanted anymore," she whispered. For a moment I almost felt something. Not love. Not anger. Just the ghost of a version of me that used to care. But that man was gone. I glanced back into the house. The lights warm, the furniture rearranged, the air finally quiet. "You don't live here anymore, Madeline," I said gently. "Not just the house. Here." I pointed to my chest. She opened her mouth. Closed it. The rain hit harder. I stepped back and slowly closed the door. No drama. No music swell. Just a soft click. That was the last time I saw her in person. Word later got around that she moved into a small rental in Tempe. Tried starting her own consulting firm. Didn't last. I never told anyone. Never gloated. Never posted quotes about karma or victory. Because some battles don't need trophies. Some battles just need to end. And this one. It ended with a door. And silence. The kind of silence that meant, this chapter is over. After the fire, there's no applause. Just ashes. And questions you ask yourself in the quiet. Madeline never came back after that night in the rain. Not physically. Not emotionally. Not even legally. She signed the final divorce papers without contest. Her signature smaller than I remembered. A month later, Tyler deleted all his socials. No engagement photos. No new beginnings. Just gone. I heard from a friend of a friend that he moved back to Nevada, told people he got scammed by a married woman, and was now working at his uncle's auto body shop. Part of me thought I'd feel satisfaction. Vindication. But all I felt was done. Like I had been carrying a burning log across my back for years and someone finally let me drop it. I didn't follow Madeline's new life. But I did hear whispers. Her firm didn't last 6 months. Turns out, when your reputation is built on manipulation, there's not much repeat business. She tried to sue a client for defamation after a bad Yelp review. Lost. Eventually, She took a job as an assistant project manager at a small residential developer. The same type of firm I used to work for, before the app, before the code, before the betrayal. Sometimes I drive past their office on my way to lunch. A bland, beige building with no nameplate, just a buzzer on the door. I don't slow down. I don't stare. Because the past doesn't deserve your full windshield. It belongs in the rear view. Bentley's graying around the muzzle now. He sleeps beside my desk while I work, occasionally wagging his tail when I talk out loud to myself. The house. Still mine. Still quiet. But now it feels like peace, not emptiness. Sometimes, I find one of her old mugs in the back of a cabinet. I don't smash it. I just throw it out with the recycling. No drama. No music. Just removal. Because that's what healing is. Not the grand gesture. Not the movie moment. Just cleaning out the little corners she used to hide in. Every time I do, I feel lighter. And that, more than the courtroom, more than the silence. That is victory. It rained again in Phoenix. Twice in 1 year. Some would call it rare. I called it poetic. I was sitting on the porch, sipping coffee, Bentley curled up by my feet, when the knock came. Not hurried. Not frantic. Just hesitant. I opened the door. And there she was. Madeline. Hair drenched, eyeliner bleeding, blouse clinging to her like the last vestige of pride. Déjà vu. Except this time, I wasn't holding gasoline. I was holding peace. Can I come in? She asked, voice low. Bentley growled softly behind me. He never used to growl at her. I didn't answer. Just stood there, letting the silence stretch like a tightrope. She spoke again. I needed to see you. Things aren't great. Tyler left. My job, well, they let me go. Clients talk, you know. Word gets around. Her eyes flicked to mine, searching for softness. For some leftover love. But there was nothing to find. I'm not here to start anything, she added quickly. Look, I miss this. The house. You. Us. The audacity. To miss what she said on fire. I should have slammed the door. Should have laughed. Should have given her one final cut she'd never forget. But instead I just asked, why now? She looked down. I thought I'd feel different once I had everything I wanted. And I asked. I don't even know what I wanted anymore, she whispered. For a moment I almost felt something. Not love. Not anger. Just the ghost of a version of me that used to care. But that man was gone. I glanced back into the house. The lights warm, the furniture rearranged, the air finally quiet. You don't live here anymore, Madeline, I said gently. Not just the house. Here. I pointed to my chest. She opened her mouth. Closed it. The rain hit harder. I stepped back and slowly closed the door. No drama. No music swell. Just a soft click. That was the last time I saw her in person. Word later got around that she moved into a small rental in Tempe. Tried starting her own consulting firm. Didn't last. I never told anyone. Never gloated. Never posted quotes about karma or victory. Because some battles don't need trophies. Some battles just need to end. And this one. It ended with a door. And silence. The kind of silence that meant, this chapter is over. Healing doesn't announce itself. It doesn't walk in with fanfare or trumpet your rebirth. It shows up quietly, like a woman in a bookstore who doesn't ask what you do for a living. That's how I met Lena. She was browsing the nonfiction section. Wore old boots and a flannel that didn't match her earrings. She asked if I'd read the book I was holding. I said no. She said, "It's not great." We laughed. It was the first time I laughed with a woman in a year. And it wasn't awkward. It was easy. We started running into each other at the same cafe. Same time, same table. Eventually, it stopped being coincidence. She never asked about my past. Never brought up relationships. She just talked about her garden, her dog, and how she's terrible at assembling IKEA furniture. And I found myself opening up, not like a floodgate, but like a window cracked just enough to let in air. Lena didn't try to fix me, didn't hand me healing in the form of compliments or empty reassurances. She just sat with me, let me exist, without judgment, without needing to be more than I was. And that was everything. I still live in the same house, same porch, but the inside feels different. Lena helped me repaint the guest room. We didn't call it starting over. We called it taking up space. Bentley likes her. That's how I knew she was safe. Sometimes we don't even talk. We just read in silence. Two people who've survived their own fires, now sitting in the embers, warm, but not burning. One evening she asked me, "Do you ever think you'll fall in love again?" I thought for a moment, then said, "I'm not trying to." She nodded. Good. Me neither. And we smiled. Because maybe love isn't the point anymore. Maybe peace is. And peace doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need fireworks or grand gestures. Sometimes peace is just being able to sleep, without checking the other side of the bed. They say revenge is sweet. But I've tasted it. And honestly, it's not. It's bitter. Sharp at first. Then numb. What's sweeter? Is clarity. It's waking up and realizing the storm is over, and not because you outran it, but because you rebuilt your roof while it raged. It's understanding that some people don't want partnership. They want platforms. And when you stop being useful to their climb, they kick you off the ladder. Madeline called me a nobody. That word used to echo in my chest like a curse. But now she walks past buildings with my name on them. Billboards. Apps. Real estate platforms she has to use to stay in the industry she once tried to edge me out of. And I don't smile at that. Because my life isn't about her anymore. It's about me. And Bentley. And the quiet mornings with hot coffee and zero tension in the air. And maybe Lena, if she decides to stick around a little longer. I didn't win because I destroyed her. I won because I stopped carrying her. That's the part they don't tell you. You don't have to swing harder. You just have to drop the weight. Let them burn the bridge. Let them think you'll drown. Then build a damn yacht. And when they try to swim back, don't throw them a rope. Don't shout. Don't gloat. Just keep sailing. Because the people who try to erase you, they don't deserve front row seats to your rise. So here's the lesson. When they take everything from you, including your voice, write your name so big they can't ignore it anymore. But don't do it to prove them wrong. Do it to remind yourself that you were never the nobody. You were the foundation. And now, you're the skyline. Healing doesn't announce itself. It doesn't walk in with fanfare or trumpet your rebirth. It shows up quietly, like a woman in a bookstore who doesn't ask what you do for a living. That's how I met Lena. She was browsing the nonfiction section. Wore old boots and a flannel that didn't match her earrings. She asked if I'd read the book I was holding. I said no. She said, "It's not great." We laughed. It was the first time I laughed with a woman in a year. And it wasn't awkward. It was easy. We started running into each other at the same cafe. Same time, same table. Eventually, it stopped being coincidence. She never asked about my past. Never brought up relationships. She just talked about her garden, her dog, and how she's terrible at assembling IKEA furniture. And I found myself opening up, not like a floodgate, but like a window cracked just enough to let in air. Lena didn't try to fix me. Didn't hand me healing in the form of compliments or empty reassurances. She just sat with me. Let me exist. Without judgment. Without needing to be more than I was. And that was everything. I still live in the same house. Same porch. But the inside feels different. Lena helped me repaint the guest room. We didn't call it starting over. We called it taking up space. Bentley likes her. That's how I knew she was safe. Sometimes we don't even talk. We just read in silence. Two people who've survived their own fires, now sitting in the embers, warm, but not burning. One evening she asked me, "Do you ever think you'll fall in love again?" I thought for a moment, then said, "I'm not trying to." She nodded. "Good. Me neither." And we smiled. Because maybe love isn't the point anymore. Maybe peace is. And peace doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need fireworks or grand gestures. Sometimes peace is just being able to sleep without checking the other side of the bed.